Finally, we're here at Yakuza 5. I've been simultaneously looking forward to and dreading doing this video because I want to put this behind me at last. Yakuza 5, if I could sum up in a few words, it's a lot. I mean, this game has a lot of characters. 5 characters, each with about 15 sub-stories, side quests, and tons of new mini-games, and I don't know if I can possibly cover all of them. But I'm going to do my best since we have a lot to cover this time. This game took me near a month to fully complete as I tried to do as much as I possibly could. But I had to periodically take breaks as the game just wore me out with how big it is. But let's just begin with our story and get into the nitty and gritty of it. Bear in mind this contains spoilers for the entire game. Our story this time takes place in December 2012, so about 10 years ago in real time. Jeez, it's been almost 10 years. That was around the time people thought the world was going to end. Actually, that's happened several times, but I'm getting off topic. Let's just begin our story. In keeping with 5 characters, there are now 5 cities that the protagonists visit. There's just not really a whole lot to go into them about. We open with news that the 7th chairman from the Omi Alliance is terminally ill. Thus, Daigo is making alliances with the various Yakuza families. He's asking a taxi driver for advice, who turns out to be none other than Kazuma Kiryu, who has taken up the identity of Taichi Suzuki. Reasons aren't made clear to us, but we see that Haruka is starting to make her way through the idol industry. In fact, 2 strangers unknowingly get under Kiryu's skin.
俺が親やったら絶対自分の娘にこげんことさせんばって。子供を芸能界に入れようなんて親はくさ。自分が叶えられんかった夢ば追いかけさせとうだけで、その子の将来とかそげんこと真剣に考えとらんとよ。
But Kiryu is once again being thrust back into the Yakuza life when he learns that Daigo has disappeared. And Kiryu is thrust into a conflict between the Toju clan and the Yamagasa family. There are some interesting character moments for Kiryu, as seen here when Mayumi basically strips naked in front of him, but Kiryu is completely disinterested. I suspect this is due to Yumi's death. He doesn't feel very comfortable with getting into a relationship again. That being said, he does have some very badass moments for Kiryu.
Oh my god, he's so goddamn cool!
Kiryu is trying to stay out of the Yakuza life as he feels that's what's best for Haruka and the kids, but the news of Goro Majima's death, yeah right, forces him back into it. Our second character is Seijama, and like the last game, he is back in prison. Again. I mean, we already did this whole thing in Yakuza 4. Did we really need to do it again? But this is because he's agreeing to serve out the remainder of his term, even though he was found mostly innocent, so what do I know? While there, he meets Baba. But he and his cellmates are harassed by this creepy-looking jerk, Kaguhara. Every time I see this guy, I think my nerves tense up, and that's probably the intention. Upon learning that Goro Majima is dead, Saejama once again escapes prison and finds himself in the mountains. This whole section with Saejama and Baba in the mountains feels like filler, but it's deemed a side quest, so you don't have to actually do it. After that whole side quest, Saejama and Baba meet with Kitataka, who is about to tell Saejama the truth but is shot by a sniper, who Saejama realizes is Baba. Thus, Saejama's role is essentially just trying to figure out the truth behind Majima's assassination. It's just a shame a lot of his sections feel like filler. Haruka's taken the training to be an idol, despite the fact that she said in Yakuza 2 that she didn't want to be one. But we gotta show the good and bad of the idol industry, and it would be more impactful if it was with a character we knew, but still not one that I think fits the character. You see, the reason Haruka is doing this is because Mirai Park told Kiryu that he was holding his kids back from achieving their dreams, so she took Haruka to Santaboro to train her to be an idol. After Haruka's manager commits suicide, or so it appears, Akiyama comes in to help investigate. He's here because, well, we need somebody for the typical Yakuza action, and Haruka's not a fighter, so yeah, there you go. For most of the returning characters, they're already developed, so there's really no need to further too much. Everyone's going for the motions, but we do have a new character to go through, Tatsuyo Shinada. We open with Shinada playing a baseball game. At the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs, it was up to him to deliver a clutch home run.
7球目打った大きい大きい伸びる入ったホームラン
来ましたね。
いやー大きいホームランなんというドラマ今日一軍に上がったばかりの品田プロ初打席初ホームランしかもサヨナラですよ。
カーブ連投の後のストレートですよ。普通のバッターだと差し込まれるんですけどね、よく打てましたね。
ワイバーンズの新たなヒーローが今夜誕生しました。ワイバーンズ品田達夫。
This would seem to be the beginning of a great career. Unfortunately, that's not how it happened. Cut to 2012, where Shinada is working as a writer just barely making ends meet in his apartment. However, as it turns out, Shinada was cheated out of his dream, and his section seeks to uncover why he was expelled from baseball for something he didn't do. Shinada is betrayed by everyone he knows, except for his loan shark Takasuki, who has a pretty awesome rescue.
てめえら生命保険もかけてねえ人間勝手に殺すんじゃねえよ。おいシャダ逃げるぞ。おら待て。
In the end, Daigo appears and promises to help him reclaim his dream, but Shinada says he will do it with his own hands, and even finally gets a chance to settle things with Sawada. Mira Park is divisive, and it's easy to see why. She pretty much makes Kiro give up Haruka so she can be an idol.
道を極めたっていう割には随分世間知らずなのね、あなた。女の子一人に夢を見させることすらできない男がかっこつけてんじゃないわよ。彼女だけじゃない。先日ここを訪れた時分かったわ。朝顔に夢はない。あなたがいる限りずっとね。
Come on, Kiro, stand up for yourself. She was a failed idol, and she's essentially trying to relive her dream by having Haruka do it. It is revealed that she was Majima's wife, and she purposely aborted his child without telling him. Wow, that's harsh. But the reason for this was because, as an idol, you can't be in a relationship or have children. Thus, she cut her losses, but it was too late to save her career. Her murder, which is covered up as a suicide, drives everybody. Of course, one of the problems I have is everybody talks like she was an innocent victim. She was no saint, but she didn't deserve what she got. Kanai is a big brute and not too smart. He kidnaps Haruka against his boss's wishes and shows that he's not a good boss.
ご苦労さん。で、手紙は見つかったんかいな。
それがこのガキ一言も口を聞こうとしないんで。
だったらさっさと口割らせんかい。
He is quite determined to rise to the ranks of the Yakuza, but his methods to get there are brutal as shown when he does to Okita, who was no angel as he murdered Park, but still, he didn't deserve that. He makes for a good rival to Akiyama, as he's all about brute force and fighting, while Akiyama is about finesse. Okita is, well, hot-tempered and he's blunt and harsh. Definitely helps paint the idea that he is an arrogant man. But he accidentally murders Park and he immediately regrets getting involved with the criminal life. When Akiyama finds him, his arm is battered into a pulp. He just begs Akiyama that he doesn't want to die.
頼む助けてくれ全部話すあんたにも警察にもだから俺をこっから連れ出してくれ
Unfortunately, he's found dead later on. The T-set girls, I don't have much to say about them. They start off as very mean to Haruka and go out of their way to humiliate her any chance they get, but despite this, Haruka doesn't hold it against them because she's that kind. Eventually, they do become friendly towards Haruka. As those are meant to represent the bad side of the idol industry and what you must become to excel at it, their change of heart is a little abrupt, but I guess Haruka has that effect on people. Katsuyo is the head of the rival agency, but we see that he has some honor to him, such as when he returns Haruka free from harm after she is kidnapped, and had Kanai not gone on his own, she would have given Park's letter to him, and the scene where he disciplines Kanai is pretty hardcore.
沢村遥に舐められてんだ。極道ってのは人に恐れられてなんぼだろうが、脅すんだったら一度でちゃんと決めてこいや。
Ouch. So despite being on the rival side, he is still a man of honor, and he does regret Park's death. It was not something that he wanted. I'll cover some more characters when I talk about the side quests, but the theme of the story is dreams. In fact, take a drink every time somebody mentions the word dreams, and you'll probably die of alcohol poisoning, so don't do that. Everyone is motivated by a dream they had or what they want to achieve. Park is trying to relive her dream for Haruka, while Shinada is trying to reclaim his old dream of being a baseball player. As Superman would say, dreams save us, dreams lift us up and transform us. We are all following our dreams, are we not? Follow your dream, never give up on it. The story does show that some things like what is good and what is bad about the idol industry, what they have to give up to become stars. Let's just say I feel bad for idols now. They can't get married or have children just because that would ruin their image. It's just horrible what they have to give up. Granted, I don't think Haruka was the best choice to do that story, since she said she wouldn't be an idol, but I guess it had to be with a character everyone knew. But the prevailing question, do you choose dreams over reality or family? Tough question. As for gameplay enhancements, one thing I took the time to do was talk to this chef Tatsuya, who is apparently a very famous Japanese chef in real life. Go to the right restaurant, and your character will essentially get a second life bar. This helps to make Yakuza 5 one of the easiest games in the series so far. Every character has a master they can train under, which usually unlocks different abilities, and I'll go into some of them as we go. Saijima's is perhaps the strangest, since this guy takes the identity of spirits and unleashes a freaking avalanche on you. Going for overkill there, buddy. Every character has a red heat action like Kiro doing some very special flip kick. And just like before, you can go out on dates. Now you can walk with them, and you can do karaoke like you always could. And Kiro, what are you doing? What is this dance? It looks really bad. Even the Charlie Brown Christmas dances look better. Shepherd dance is better. Let's go into the gameplay of each character, and each character also has their own side quests except for Akiyama, so I'll try to go into them here. Kiro plays as he normally does. He's fairly well balanced. He's the same as he always has been, but he has this new heat action where he drags his opponent's face through the pavement. That likely leaves a few scars. Ow. So there's not much to really go into here. His side mission is taxi driving. This can range from just doing simple drop-off missions and make sure you don't crash the car and obey traffic signs. Of course, Japanese traffic laws are a little different than America. Different side of the road, so that took some getting used to. But Kiro can also partake in street racing, and I love every moment of it. Kiro can run afoul of the devil killers and typically has to beat them in a race, and I love using Climax heat to go into overdrive. I did appreciate some of the developments of the character, such as seeing that Kiro's boss lost his wife and deeply regrets that. Saejima is the same as he was in Yakuza 4, just with a shaved head. I do appreciate his climax heat, which just causes him to make a small earthquake and take everyone out. That being said, his side mission is the strangest I've ever seen so far. First, we do him in a prison again, and like I said, we already did this in the last game, so why are we repeating ourselves? Then he's in a snow speeder, then he fights a giant bear, which is just goofy enough for me to love. Besides him, a side quest revolves around hunting, which is a game in and of itself. There are a variety of ways you can hunt, set traps, or just shoot them. Headshots are preferred. I generally don't agree with hunting for sport. Hunting for food is different, of course. That being said, what I genuinely don't understand is how the controls are mapped. I'm using an Xbox controller. Aiming the gun is with RB, and shooting is with X. Why can't I aim with the left trigger and shoot with the right trigger? That's what most other shooter games do, and it works fine. Some of the ways Narumi survives getting mauled by a bear is a little hard to believe, despite this being fiction. That being said, I did enjoy the final showdown with the huge bear. In the end, it was a good payoff as Narumi admits he won't kill the bear in cold blood.
自分が生きるための狩猟以外は殺戮。俺はな、仁科さん。そのことをこの集落、雪山、そしてあんたたちに教わったんだよ。
奥寺さん。
ここでこの引き金を引けば、俺は10年前に逆戻りだ。ここは一つ、漁師としての俺の信念を貫かせてもらえないか。
Haruka is a little different from the typical protagonist. For example, I was actually kind of relieved to be able to walk down the streets and not get challenged to a fight by random people every 5 seconds. Haruka doesn't fight like the others. What does she do? She gets into dance battles. Ever play a rhythm game? That's basically what this is. Just press the button at the right time and you'll win. At first it's a nice change of pace, but eventually you'll notice that there are only 3 songs that Haruka will dance to. So much more, Loneliness Loop, and Because I Have You, and the lack of variety will settle in quick. I actually took the time to do all of Haruka's side jobs, which can range from doing a quiz, a handshake event where Haruka has to shake hands with her fans. Is that what these people are actually like? Don't answer that. Or just running down the street because people like to see their idols sweat. Alright then. I took the time to do all these, and that turned out to be for the best, as otherwise I would have missed a certain battle. Haruka's gameplay is meh, but my biggest problem is Haruka's section just drags, and I spent nearly 20 hours on this chapter, which is longer than any other chapter, including the finale. A nice little change on the usual formula, but if you're not a fan of rhythm games, you're just going to want to go back to old-fashioned Yakuza. Speaking of, Akiyama shows up halfway through Chapter 3 and he's pretty much the same as he was in Yakuza 4, all about finesse and speed. But I was able to get some good upgrades to his heat. The one I find essential is kicking your opponent up into the air and following that up with an air combo. In fact, there's a variety of ways he can take out multiple opponents at once, so I appreciate Yakuza 5 for expanding his arsenal, so to speak. He doesn't have a side quest since Haruka already has one, so it's really not needed. Shinoda is a grappler. I suppose that's basically what his heat moves consist of. He's very good with weapons as he gets several which never break, but I find them to do such poor damage that I don't bother with them. With the proper combo, he can grab his opponent and push them into a wall, and then follow that up with another strike, and this is what I defaulted to using more often than not. His side quest involves playing baseball, because of course it does. It took a little getting used to. You definitely want to upgrade to get better equipment. Eventually I was hitting these balls like they were no tomorrow. At least the side quests are fairly simple and to the point. At least Shinoda's chapter is relatively short when compared to the previous chapter, so that's a plus. There's still the variety of sub-stories which I won't comment on because I can't remember all of them, and it would take too long. But the thing that stands out to me is when Haruka has to do a comedy act. I had to look up what the answers were. I don't really understand Japanese humor, so I can't say I found it very funny. At least the bar tells you when is the right time to make your response. But there's still a lot to do. There's Victory Road, basically some random people will challenge you to a fight in each city, and you have to unlock the challenge when you go back to Kamurocho. Ultimately, all it does is lead to Kiro having to fight the other 3 protagonists in the Coliseum, which is fine, I guess. Kiro gets to prove that he's the king. Now we'll be going into the finale, so big spoilers going forward. How does this game manage to tie all 5 stories together? Well, let's get into that. The finale is 4 separate chapters this time. Yeah, we got a lot to do. Kiro and Saejima return to Kamurocho. Kiro meets Baba, which will come into play soon, while Saejima and his detective friend confront Iwasa, as per the florist's request.
あんた
Might have waited a bit too long because that guy is most definitely dead after that. Ultimately, it serves in helping Saejima find out that the person he's been searching for, Marnaga, has been dead for some time, or so it appears. Meanwhile, Akiyama and Shino meet and discover that something's going on at the concert where Haruka and T-Set will make their big debut. Only that something bad is going on and perhaps the concert should be delayed. Then Kiro and Saejima and Watase head to Katsuya's hotel suite. I really did not need to see his bare ass, thank you very much for that, game. Turns out the whole drive is to make everyone fight each other just to lure out the master. Yes, fighting will solve everything. And eventually this is the usual Yakuza part where all the betrayals happen. The detective is actually the 7th Omi chairman, Kurosawa. I have to admit, didn't see that coming. More people are shot, and I swear, is everybody in the series like Superman or something? They all shrug off bullet wounds like it's nothing. Okay, I know that's just law of fiction in general, but I'm just saying. Daigo shows up and pretty much seemingly saves the day, only for this to happen.
Daigo! 誰やあいつ大阪工業の
Oh, it's you, but seeing Kiro get highly emotional is all the incentive I need. Following that, Baba will tell Haruka not to give up. And this is your moment where anything you didn't do as Haruka, do it now or you can't do it till Premium Adventure. Which I still need to do, actually. Make sure you did all those jobs, that's the only way Haruka can fight her own Amon. At this point I was really tired of having to perform just so much more. Also, Haruka can just change her clothes without taking her previous ones off. Is this like Sailor Moon? This took quite a bit of time. Fortunately, I was able to just barely win. Following that, our heroes and Date coordinate. Haruka will be assassinated at the show, and now anything they didn't do, do it now. In order to get everyone on the same page to fight the Amon brothers again, you got a breakthrough by fighting both the old master and his grandson, and that's not easy exactly, but it will allow you to go past level 20. Fighting the Amon brothers with Akiyama and Saejima is roughly the same as before, but with new heat moves. But Shinida's opponent I found very annoying, and chipping away at his health with the right tools was just agonizing. Make sure you stock up on health restores, especially when he starts levitating. Just run like hell and hope you don't get bombarded. But with the sturdy knife, I was able to get him in a combo that he couldn't get out of. Finally, that leaves Joe, Amon, and Kiro once again. Only thing I can say about this one, Tiger Drop is your friend. But he can do it too. The way I beat him was by going into Climax Heat Mode, and both of our attacks just bounced off each other. Phew. Time for the final showdown. The big show is about to happen. T-Set is now friends of Haruka. Yeah, I guess so. What happens from here can best be described as chaos. Kiro and Akiyama fight in the streets while Shinada and Saejima take to the sewers. Yeah, if I had the option to not pick Shinada, I'm gonna pick that option, believe me. Saejima tells Shinada to get to the stadium since he knows it inside and out. It's here that we see Baba as the one who is supposed to assassinate Haruka. Kurosawa forces Saejima and Majima to fight, which is just twisted. Making people fight to save the life of a teenage girl. Well, at least it gives us another fight with Saejima and Majima, who can barely stand, but that doesn't affect him in gameplay at all. I love this fight, as it feels very deep and personal, and makes Majima feel important again. But Kurosawa finds that Haruka hasn't been assassinated. Baba has refused to kill Haruka, and Shinada confronts him on Saejima's behalf. But Shinada points out that he won't let him leave any incriminating evidence. For Shinada, this is a moment of redemption for both him and Baba. As Shinada's final fight, Baba is fairly tough. Fortunately, with all the abilities I had at my disposal, I was able to land the final blow. Shinada soaks in the view.
けえな。全然見えねえや。夢の舞台なんて言ったのは客席から見ればこんなもんだってことか。
But Shuna and Baba are able to find their redemption as pretty much everyone who had been in the game so far is coming back for the big finale. Akiyama and Kiro continue the fight. This is like something out of a Batman Arkham game. At that moment, Daigo and Katsuya reappear and shoot Kurosawa, whose motive is to have his bastard son take over. Kurosawa is dying of cancer. Yeah, that's right, I totally forgot about that. Unless I missed something. Kiro has to go to the Tojo clan headquarters while Akiyama faces Kanai, who is such a stinking coward you have to fight all his men with him. I gotta say, I was glad to be able to beat up this ugly bastard. Yeah, see? I've wanted to do that for a long time. After finally beating him, everyone from the previous Yakuza clan show up, and Kanai is basically a dead man walking.
それが近江が最強たるゆえんや。せやけど今日だけは頭下げさせてもらう。秋山藩世話になった。
Wow, that was like the end of Return of the King. Kiro confronts Isawa, who respects Kiro as an opponent. As Haruka sings her last song, Kiro and Isawa face off. This fight is epic. It starts in the main room, then goes downstairs before they both end up outside. This is like something out of an anime. And I mean that in a good way. Isawa has tons of health bars, but fortunately the Tiger Drop will make quick work of him. Every blow is felt, and I was really getting into it. Finally, as snow drops, which I think is a sign of purity, Kiro and Isawa finish their fight. As the game ends, Haruka does something really emotional, and really stupid at the same time. She announces her retirement from the idol industry, and that Kiro is her adoptive father, and an ex-Yakuza! Why? Granted, the whole idea is she didn't think the dream she was pursuing was worth losing her family, but this has dire consequences that we will see in Yakuza 6. Yakuza 5 is a lot, like I said, but yet despite that, its length feels justified. The ending really tied everybody's stories together in a nice little bow. The theme of Yakuza 5 is dreams. Dreams are something to aspire to, but we must live in reality as well, and I think that's why Haruka made the choice she did at the end. Well, we're almost caught up, but we won't be continuing the story next time. We'll be going back to 1988 with Yakuza 0, the game that finally made Yakuza popular in the West.
This